999,999 kilometers. That's exactly where a 2009 Toyota Land Cruiser sits right now, on the original factory engine and gearbox it left the showroom with. The Victorian owner stopped there on purpose, 300 meters short of 1 million kilometers, parked up, waiting for whoever buys it next to be the one who crosses the line. That number is not a lab test. That's not a marketing stunt. That's a daily driven family vehicle that's been doing the school run, the farm run, the everything run, for almost 2 decades on the engine it was born with. And here's the sharpest way I can put it. Most cars don't make it to 200,000 kilometers without a fight. This one is one lap of the odometer away from 1 million, and it's not even the only one. Toyota Australia themselves have said they genuinely can't confirm if this is the highest mileage Land Cruiser in the country, because other customer vehicles have crossed the 1 million kilometer mark too. That's not an outlier. That's the documented reality of Utes engines in Australia right now. The Ford Ranger became the best-selling vehicle in the entire country last year, not just the best-selling Utes. And Utes as a category now dominate Australian new car sales more than any other segment ever has. So the real question isn't whether Aussies love Utes. It's which ones actually earn that trust, and which ones are just wearing the costume. Today I am counting down 6 Utes, ranked from genuinely tough to absolutely bulletproof. By the end of this video, you'll know exactly which engines are worth betting 6 figures of kilometers on, which ones need a very specific maintenance habit to survive, and which one engineers actually built for the possibility of hitting 1 million kilometers in the first place. And number 1 on this list, I'll tell you now, it's not the one most people expect, and the reason why comes down to something most buyers never even think to ask a dealer. I've stood in enough auction yards watching bidders fight over odometer readings to know one thing better than almost anyone. The number on the dash either builds trust in a room or it kills the sale stone dead. I've watched it happen both ways more times than I can count. If you've watched my last video on the Utes that quietly fall apart before 200,000 kilometers, you'll know I don't sugarcoat this stuff, good or bad. For this one, I've gone through VFACTS sales data, Toyota Australia's own service records, Isuzu UT Australia's engineering documentation, and owner forums that track this stuff obsessively because their livelihoods depend on these engines not dying on a job site 3 hours from the nearest town. My background's in valuing cars for what they're actually worth at the point of sale, not what the brochure claims. And durability like this is the single biggest thing that moves a resale number. So it's the thing I've spent years learning to actually verify. If that's useful to you, stick around and hit subscribe. I put a new one of these out most weeks, and I'd rather you hear it from someone who's stood in the yard than from a dealer with a number to hit. Coming in at number 6, the Mitsubishi Triton, older generation, the 4D56 diesel. This is a genuinely tough bit of engineering underneath. The block and the driveline can take a serious hiding. But here's the catch, and it's the one thing that decides whether this engine lives or dies. It runs a timing belt, not a chain, and that belt has a strict replacement interval. Skip it, and you're not looking at a repair bill. You're looking at a full engine rebuild. Owners on the big 4-wheel drive forums are consistent about this one. 300,000 kilometers plus is absolutely achievable, but only for the owner who never, ever skips that belt service. That's not a flaw in the engine. That's a flaw in human memory. And it's cost plenty of people a 5-figure mistake they never saw coming. Up next is a step up in old-school simplicity. Coming in at number 5, the Nissan Patrol, GU or Y61 generation, the TB48 petrol and TD42 diesel. This is a vehicle with almost nothing electronic left to fail. Mechanical fuel injection, simple architecture, built in an era before turbos and diesel particulate filters got involved in everything. The GU Patrol is known, properly known, for surviving past 500,000 kilometers with nothing more than proper care. The 4.8-liter TB48 petrol variant, in particular, has a reputation for going past that mark without drama. Let me put that in plain language. This is an engine that lasts because there's genuinely less inside it to break. Coming in at number 4, the Ford Ranger, older Duratorque diesel, before the newer turbo and dual-clutch generations. This is the older manual and torque converter automatic Ranger, a proper workhorse, and one that earns its spot slightly differently to the others on this list. Here's why it ranks where it does, Because a skeptical viewer might ask why a car this popular sits behind an old Patrol with a fraction of the sales volume. The Ranger's reputation is being written by sheer weight of numbers. It sold 56,555 units in Australia last year alone, more than any other vehicle, Utes or otherwise. That's an enormous, ongoing, real-world reliability experiment happening on our roads right now, and the older pre-power shift versions are coming through it well. The maths simply doesn't work in favor of the newer, more complex versions the same way. But this generation, the one without the electronic gearbox headaches, has genuinely earned its spot here. Quick favor before we hit the top 3. If this is genuinely useful, give the like button a tap. The top 3 picks are the ones I'd actually put money behind at auction without blinking, and I want the algorithm to push this to as many Aussies as possible before they walk onto a car yard. Cheers. On we go. Number 3 is where the engineering starts getting genuinely serious. The Isuzu D-Max, the 4JJ1 and 4JJ3 3-liter turbo diesel. Cast iron block. Steel timing chain, not a belt. Conservative factory tuning that doesn't try to squeeze every last horsepower out of the engine at the cost of longevity. This is an engine built for boredom in the best possible way. A well-maintained D-Max engine can commonly last 300,000 to 500,000 kilometers or more in Australian conditions, and the original 4JJ1, introduced back in 2008, is still spoken about as the benchmark for frugal, unglamorous durability. It even lives on quietly under the skin of the Mazda BT50 and the Isuzu MUX, which tells you everything about how much Isuzu trusts this specific engine. Would you bet on the flashy new turbo with twice the complexity? I wouldn't. Number 2, and this one's the one everyone in the trade already knows, the Toyota Hilux, the 1KD and 1GD diesel. Ask anyone in an Australian workshop what lasts forever, and this is usually the first word out of their mouth. It was Australia's second best-selling Utes last year. Over 51,297 of them sold, which means the reputation isn't built on a handful of lucky examples. The 1KD FTV diesel routinely surpasses 500,000 kilometers with nothing more than basic maintenance. Fleet operators, the people who genuinely cannot afford a vehicle that dies on them, have logged Hilux engines past 1 million kilometers in the harshest commercial conditions this country has to offer. Documented. Not a rumor, not a forum legend. One owner's personally tracked Hilux hit 500,000 kilometers after 15 years of hard daily work, the kind of ownership story that would make most other engines quietly give up. And topping the list at number 1, the Toyota Land Cruiser 70 and 79 series, the 1HC diesel and the V8 turbo diesel. Remember that Land Cruiser sitting on 999,999 kilometers from the start of this video? That's the 200 series wagon. The 79 series Utes you're looking at right now is the same bloodline, stripped back even further. At a brand level, Toyota just posted its 23rd consecutive year as Australia's best-selling car maker. That's not one good model. That's 2 decades of a country deciding, over and over, that this badge is the safe bet. But the 79 series specifically is a different animal to every single vehicle on this list so far. This is the Utes that runs the mine sites of Western Australia and the cattle stations across the outback, the same ladder chassis and live axles as its bigger Land Cruiser cousins, powered by the 4.2-liter inline-six 1HZ engine, a working lifespan people genuinely compare to Stonehenge, because it just refuses to stop existing. Fleet records in Australia show some of these engines hitting 700,000 kilometers without ever needing a major overhaul. I couldn't find a specific court ruling or ACCC action tied to engine durability for this vehicle, and I'm not going to pretend one exists just to make this section sound more official. What I can tell you instead is the support network behind it. Parts availability for this platform in remote Australia is unmatched because mining operators and outback stations demand it, and that support chain is arguably as important to 500,000 kilometer reliability as the metal in the engine itself. Here's the single image that ties it together. Every other Utes on this list earned its reputation despite being built for the mainstream market. The 79 series was never built for the mainstream market at all. It was built for the one customer who cannot afford a breakdown 300 kilometers from the nearest servo, and everything about it, right down to the naturally aspirated engine option with no turbo left to fail, flows from that single design brief. It's rated to carry 3,500 kilograms while towing another 3,500 kilograms, and it does it without apologizing for the ride quality. If you're shopping for one of these, the specific action step is simple. Ask for full, dated service records, not just a stamped book, and treat any gap in the record as a red flag regardless of how good the odometer looks. You are now the informed buyer who knows something most Australians walking into a showroom today do not. So there they are. Number 6, the Triton. Brilliant, if you never skip that belt. Number 5, the Patrol. Simple enough to outlive its owner. Number 4, the older Ranger. Proven by sheer weight of numbers. Number 3, the D-Max. Boring by design and better for it. Number 2, the Hilux. The trade's default answer for a reason. Number 1, the Land Cruiser 79 Series. Built for the one customer who can't afford to break down. My honest takeaway, and it's the same one I always give. None of the other Utes on the market are bad vehicles. They're just built to a different brief than the 6 we've covered today. An informed buyer always wins, whether that's at a dealership or in an auction yard, because you're the one who knows what question to ask before you sign anything. Under Australian consumer law, any vehicle you buy still has to be fit for purpose and free from major defects. And that protection exists whether you're buying the toughest Ute on this list or the least impressive one. So do your homework on service history before you fall in love with a number on a dash. That's it from me. The maths on longevity only works in your favor if you actually check it first. Are you sitting in front of an old Triton right now wondering if that timing belt's actually been done? Have you got a Hilux or a D-Max that's already ticked past 300,000 kilometers, and you want to know if you got lucky or if that's just normal for these engines? Or are you eyeing off a 79 series and trying to work out if it's worth the premium over a Hilux? Drop your stories in the comments. The honest ones, the painful ones, the I should have checked this service book once. All welcome. If this helped, give it a like. Hit subscribe for more straight-shooting Aussie car advice, and I'll see you in the next one. Drive safe, and remember, the engine that impresses you at the dealership isn't the one that matters. It's the one still running the day everyone else's warranty ran out.